Okay, so I see a lot of prepper channels talking about grow your own food and maybe the only food you can get. All right, here's a little bit of a reality check of growing your own food. Now, I grow some of my own food, and here's some of what I've grown. This is about 1 month's worth of harvest from roughly 2.5 square feet of these particular items. Okay, so here I have golden berries. This is how much I've gotten from them out of 1 square foot. And I've eaten some. I've eaten like 2 berries, but that's the rest. This is about a half a square foot of a bean pole that I'm growing vertically. I ate about 4 more of these beans, so it should be twice as much of this I've been able to pick in 1 month. Seriously. These are some flax seeds I've just now harvested from seed pods that have matured, and that is it thus far. Now there's quite a few more to get once they mature, but that's about another square foot of flax. So a square foot of flax, a half a square foot of beans, and about another square foot of golden berries. This is it for a month thus far. I mean, there will be a little bit more, but how much more do you think I'm really going to get? Okay, you might say, well, come on, you're comparing apples to oranges, all right? I mean, I know this is minuscule, but that's part of my point. How many square feet do most people have? Now, let's throw in another square foot. This I can get quite a bit out of. This is collard greens. These are my collard greens. Let me move that aside for you. These are my collard greens. Now, see, obviously they're a lot bigger. I could probably pull off of that particular collard green plant about 2 of these every other day reliably, and I'll never seemingly run out. They just keep growing and growing and growing as long as I water and fertilize. As long as they keep getting enough nitrogen, they keep on growing. It's awesome. And I'm growing it out of sand that I basically got where a bunch of people used to smoke and drink and probably do drugs. Seriously, on the side of the road. I thought it would be a funny idea. I put it in a pot, and I got a collard green. I replanted it, and now I get essentially nearly free collard greens. But how many calories do you think I'm getting out of this? I'm getting some awesome nutrients. I'm getting vitamin A, probably a little bit of vitamin C. I don't know all the nutrients in these things, but I'm also getting a good amount of chlorophyll as well, which is good for your health and is associated with longevity. But how many calories do you think I'm getting out of this? Not a whole lot. Good amount of fiber too. On top of this, a lot of people would think to themselves, you know what I would do? Grow potatoes, right? 1 bucket, get a big old harvest of maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 pounds. 5 pounds, 10 pounds if you're lucky. Right, good. That's if you're lucky, okay? We are in the season of Florida where it's going to start to get hot. I'm trying to grow potatoes currently. I got 1 little sprout out of 4 that I've put in 1 pot. 1 freaking sprout. These things do not grow in the heat very well. White potatoes I'm talking about. It's easier said than done. I can also add in that month harvest 2 peanuts. 2 peanuts that I pulled out of a small pot that I tried planting peanuts in. The peanuts were good. They were tough. They survived. And as a matter of fact, the plant still survived even after I took the peanuts off of it. But nonetheless, add 2 peanuts to that, and that's what I got for a month of something that you can usually consistently pull off. Well, no, peanuts are cyclical. What else do I have? I have 2 dragon fruit cactuses. None of them produce fruit. None. Despite getting bigger and bigger and bigger, doesn't produce fruit. Pomegranate. I have 2 pomegranate trees. Only 1 produces fruit. And it has a fruit on there now, so if you want to say, well, what would be if I went and picked it right now? It'd be about the size of a oversized golf ball if they made one. Somewhere between a golf ball and a racquetball. That's it. The other ones, I'm crossing my fingers for hopes that those flowers will turn into more pomegranates. But so many flowers have already fallen off. That's it. Now, you might be thinking, well, grow tomatoes. Well, tomatoes are around the corner. I have Roma tomatoes that I'm growing, and some of them are starting to show that they're going to produce fruit. Hopefully I get a high percentage of the flowers to produce fruit. I've been using a new method of tapping them. Now, once the tomatoes come in, I'll be able to easily just stack up this plate full of tomatoes if everything goes right. That's if everything goes right. For all I know, I could get a disease. I've gotten diseases in the past, and they've knocked out my tomatoes. This stuff is the toughest thing I've ever grown, for the most part. This and the golden berries are the toughest things I've grown. Oh, I'm sorry, I should say that too. The lima beans. Lima beans always grow. Right now, it's just a matter of growing these things vertically and packing as many as I can into as much square feet as I could get. Flaxseed, very inefficient. Very good for you, very inefficient. This is only the second time I've ever gotten flax seeds out of putting these things in a square foot area. I'm going to try to grow more, but all in all, you really don't get that much. I think 1 acre or something like that, 1 acre possibly, will only yield you about 990 pounds of seed, maybe 90 or 900. I think it's only 90 pounds of seed you can expect from 1 acre. I'd have to look that up. But my point is this, man. People trying to make you feel like all you had to do was just a little bit more. Oh, if I only did a little bit more. If only if I wasn't so lazy to try to starting a garden. It's bullshit, man. It is bullshit. I don't know who the fuck these people are. I don't know who the fuck they work for. I know some of them are police. But they're fucking misleading you. And how come these people, right, they want to help you, right? How come they don't tell you how to do this stuff? Step by step. Here's how to grow this. Here's what soil I have. Here's how often I water. They don't give you shit. Okay? These prepping channels are disrespecting their viewers. They don't give a fuck about you. All they want you to do is click on their dumbass shit and move on to the next. And some of them are basically surveillance channels too, right? They just want to they want to put out the bait and then have you say stupid shit. You know, they're a lot of them are trying to track like religious fanatics and nutcases like that. So they're trying to see what's in the heads of those people. But so many of them anyways, doesn't matter if they're doing that or not. All these people are trying to do is, other than that, these people are trying to sell you shit and just bullshit you and mess with your head. Like I said, they have no respect for their viewers. They don't teach you anything you can do for cheap or for free. I could do a lot more in that regard, but I haven't been, to be honest. And because quite honestly, I really don't have a specific bona fide method. I could give you some good channels to look at, some things that can get you involved in sustainable gardening and different things like that. But so much of it's easier said than done. I mean, if you want two things right now that you can do, that I believe you can do, two things to get involved in learning how to refine is, so I'll add three, okay? Look up Gary Matsuoka about soil and what type of soil you should use. It's his first video on his channel, Gary Matsuoka, Gary's Best Gardening. He's the owner of Laguna Hills Nursery in California. Guy's very knowledgeable. He's awesome. Great guy, too. Number two, I would tell you, is learn about how to use urine as a fertilizer, okay? The right soil, a silica-based soil, urine as a fertilizer. Those are two things you can get for free if you do what you have to do. And the third thing I would say is biochar. Biochar is a very good investment. Let's say you go and you pick up some sand from somewhere. You're thinking to yourself, how am I going to grow anything in sand? It's sand. It's like, you remember Sam Kinison, it's the desert. Nothing grows out here. You know what this is? It's sand. It's sand. You know it's going to be 100 years from now? Sand. It's the desert. Nothing grows out here, if you remember that stuff. What you can do is add the biochar to the sand. Learn about biochar. And the reason why all this goes together is you can get sand for usually cheap to nothing, right? If you add biochar, biochar is just basically charcoal that has been, let's say, cooked at a high enough temperature, okay, to where it gets off a lot of the volatiles so they don't recondense on it. And you wind up with basically the carbon skeleton. And what that does is it allows you to bump up the cation exchange capacity of the soil. So sand would have typically a low cation exchange capacity. Once you add the biochar, you can start bringing that cation exchange capacity up. Cation exchange capacity and anion exchange capacity as well allows these things to hold on to the nutrients via electrostatic charges. And that's all your important nutrients that are going to get tied up into that soil. And it'll do that without making the soil mushy and anaerobic. So it'll keep it aerobic, it'll keep it nice and loose, and it will tie up a lot of your nutrients. And once you make biochar, okay, or you can get charcoal and kind of heat it up and get the volatiles. Charcoal at the store is not a very good thing to do. And I'm referring to the wood charcoal, not the compressed briquettes. But learn about biochar. Once you make it and you put it in the soil, I would advise you to try this in potted plants first, so that it doesn't get incorporated into the grounds around your area, and sometimes it can mess up your soil. If it's not inoculated, it can suck up nutrients, and so you have to make sure you inoculate the stuff first with a good fertilizer, etc. So you can actually use urine, but those are the great thing about biochar is once you make it and it's inoculated and it's in the soil and it's working, it stays that way for a very long time. It's not something you have to keep doing. If you gain the knowledge, you make the stuff, that's it. You don't have to keep doing it. That's about it. Just reiterate it. Learn how and why you should be using a silica-based soil. Learn how to use urine as a fertilizer, and learn how to make and use biochar. You do those three things, you'll start seeing some decent results. You'll see better results than maybe you otherwise would have. And for the most part, it's all for free. So anyways, that's one thing, bunch of stuff I wanted to share. A much longer video than I intended to make, but I want to give people something and not just flex bullshit at people. So that's it. Have a good one. Have a good week.